All right, hello, and welcome to my show. Could you be more specific? Coming to you through by the way of the Stay Well podcast. I'm fortunate enough to have my guest, DJ Proper. He's going to be talking about some of the things that's going on with him professionally and some of his musical influence, as well as some of the things he's looking to see go forward with music today. So, first of all, I just want to start by thank you, DJ Proper, on doing our show. I'm really looking forward to meeting with you. I know we've been trying to talk for quite some time on trying to schedule this, so I thank you for hanging in there with us, and I'm happy to have you on, man. How you been?
I've been excellent, man. Thank you. It's an honor. Yeah, I've definitely been looking forward for us to linking. Just really appreciative, to get the message out there and for us to link up and marinate on a couple things.
Oh, sure, man. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I just want to let you know, man, I ended up listening to some of the music you sent beforehand, but I actually re-listened to a lot of it today, actually. In particular, your Eyes portion, that compilation of music.
The eyes on?
Yeah. And one of the things that kind of stood out to me about that genre of music is kind of you infuse some of the early 90s hip hop sound that you're probably, influenced by, whether it's by the Far Side or or seeing some of those people that kind of came up in that early genre, but you also kind of have some East Coast influences with something like Gangstar or with DJ Premier. So, what are some of your musical influences, and how do you try and blend the music of past and present, and what you're trying to do with the future of your music?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I'm from New York, so that's
Okay.
definitely. I'm from Staten Island, actually. Method Man, they're all from my old neighborhood and stuff. I'm from Westerly, Staten Island, so. But I moved here to Cali when I was 10 years old, so definitely an immersion of music from the East Coast, and then coming up here and growing up in the West Coast culture, growing up in the music business, and then definitely some of the people you named. Gangstar, huge influence on my life. Premier, definitely one of my favorite producers, DJs. Definitely been influenced by them, Tribe, and then on the newer stuff, I mean, everyone across the board. I mean, I really love J. Cole. I really think that he's been doing something special. Aloe Black, even when he was known as Eminem back in the day. I mean, I'm a true DJ at heart in the sense of that someone could have 50,000 songs, and if they got one gem that they like, I'll bump that, and I just always looking for those gems, and I listen to everything, man. I'm a big James Brown fan, big EDM, reggae, everything across the board is definitely to my passion and to my heart.
Oh, wow. So, hey, man, that sounds good, man. Well, I guess kind of piggybacking off that, I don't know if you actually had a chance to see this movie. It's called Mid 90s.
Mhm.
And one of the things that film did a really good job of is it kind of infused the West Coast influence of hip hop at that time, while also kind of like showing you that, some of the East Coast music that was involved in. And obviously, Far Side is one of the early influences, especially on the West Coast. But then you got to say a group like Diggable Planets, and they're very similar as well. So, in terms of like the kind of the jazz fusion, because you have a couple songs that kind of have that influence on there. Who are some artists that kind of you've looked at in that kind of genre of music? Because I kind of picked up on that with some of the sounds that you had on your mix.
Yeah, Far Side, Hieroglyphics, definitely highly influenced by Living Legends.
Mm-hmm.
As someone that grew up in the underground scene out here, Mad Lib. And then I'm a big Pete Rock fan. I've been a big Pete Rock fan for a long time. So all that, Dilla, Just Blaze. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Q-Tip personally. I think that he's underestimated as how much of a staple of hip hop he really is. I mean, if people really dip into it, a lot of your favorite rappers' albums were produced by Q-Tip, like a lot of Kanye stuff. And a lot of the beats that they had for Tribe were produced by Q. So, I mean, I think that guy is a genius, and there's definitely things in interviews that he said that I relate to as an artist, never really wanting to let go of something and always wanting to go back and put like a little bit on the bass, remix it, or change the verse a little bit. And unless someone extrapolates it from me, it's kind of a hard one. So, but
Right.
definitely Mad Lib, huge influence. E40, Dre, I mean, I personally here am a Trojan. I go to USC, to Thornton here at night. I work here at the school, and Dr. Dre is opening up a music technology school here with Jimmy Iovine. So Dre, his influence on the culture is undeniable. I mean, I think that the talents that he's cultivated through the years and be able to transcend the business, and he's like James Brown. There's the music and then there's the music business, and he's both. And I think as artists, that's the hardest thing, is that we're these lucid creatures, very much about the authenticity and just making stuff that we love. But then there's, the music business part too, and finding that balance between it all.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like picking up off of just hearing you say that, made me think about what was going on with Tommy Boy Records, and then to see all that's going on with De La Soul. When you find out how much money they were getting, but the trade off in their contract was that, hey, we'll let you create, but it's going to be a 90-10 split our way, and it kind of seems so disheartening, because it's like, if you want to honor the legends, one of the best way to honor them is to kind of see them be, whole in all areas of their life. And so, when you see a clip of Joe Budden kind of crying, when he's like, man, these are dudes that I look up to, and it just seems like they're off by the wayside. So, to your point about, fusing the music business, it's almost like classes that, say, that facility that, Jimmy Iovine and Dre are doing, it's like that should be like split between, you're going to learn how to do music, but you're also going to learn about music and how it works business-wise. So for you personally, since you were coming up as a kid out here, have you always just been more so just into the music aspect of it and not really focusing on the business, or is that something you kind of balanced both of those as you were going along when you started out?
Yeah, I mean, I've been around the business part since I was a child. I mean, I was fortunate enough that my uncle, my godfather, he was the production manager for Michael Jackson for 20 years, Grateful Dead, Gaga, Pavarotti, and then I worked for a company out here called Jamaica Gold, which is run by Q-Boy, and that's the longest running reggae hip hop promotion company here in Los Angeles, over 20 years strong. And so I've always been on the production side, been like literally my earliest memories are being backstage with Michael Jackson and watching him perform and do his thing, and then growing up out here and just always going to shows and working with Q and doing stuff. He would always do shows with Guru and Slick Rick and Busta Rhymes, and then he would do stuff with like Beanie Man and Sizzla and Egyptian before anyone knew who he was. So like I've been fortunate and blessed in my career to have some really good businessmen around me. Like one of my mentors and really good friends is DJ Motivate from Black Eyed Peas. He's the original founder. He's the original founder of Black Eyed Peas that brought them to Ruthless Records originally to get BEP their first deal before Fergie, any of that stuff and everything. And he was one of the people that helped me co-sign in the beginning, and Nas's DJ LES was helping me do my couple of my first remixes, and just having people in the business that were touring a lot. Like a lot of my friends are music directors and stuff. I have a good friend who is an MD for like Talib Kweli and has a live band here that's just both sides, kind of like that homage, that like almost like a Quincy Jones type ethic of that. We've doing a lot of live gigs in the studio a lot, doing both ends of it and stuff. So, I mean, am I perfect with the business? I would say not. I say in the music business, artists themselves, there's always a little level of a disconnect of being artistic and that. But, I mean, yeah, of course it's important to me. I mean, obviously I reached out to you guys trying to... I've noticed that in business, one of the best ethics that I've ever found is people that follow up, and everything's just based off of an open book, and just like, I don't know, just like with music, I'm not a salesman. Like a good product speaks for itself. Like, hey, like, and how about this? Even if it's the best track on earth, there's still going to be people that aren't going to like it. So, I mean, you got to kind of get to a point where you're comfortable in your own skin. And where I'm at in my career is I'm just really trying to do it to be authentic and for the love and get back to it from like when I was a kid, what I really just enjoy, just being at shows, being in the studio and just making music I love. That's always been my gauge with me and my team is kind of like, yo, if I didn't make this, would I want to listen to this? Would I think this is dope? Was this something that I would, I mean, me and my friends talk about it all the time. I mean, hopefully it's timeless and priceless and just something that people relate to and it's authentic, something that just speaks to people, speaks to their soul.
Yeah, that's a very true sentiment, and I think transparency is like the equalizer to everything, from whether it's business or music. I think if you feel like, even if people don't have all the answers you want, if you feel like they're being fully transparent with you, I think that kind of helps you in terms of making those decisions on what kind of art you want to consume, what kind of food you want to eat. So, kind of just hearing you explain that a bit, it kind of makes me think about how, I know Steve Stout is kind of in the news right now because he has a United Masters company where he's trying to help, up and coming artists, get deals where they actually own their music and they're own their publishing. And I know he's working with the NBA. And of course, it's some more things you kind of got to look at to see how that all checks out. But I know he has an artist now. His name is escaping me at the moment.
Who?
I don't know this kid's name off the top of my head right now. It's escaping me at the moment. But he turned down like multiple record deals because he wants to own his own music. Do you think with the new way of how we're now starting to consume music, where it's so flooded, you still think that that's probably the reason why a lot of people just go ahead and go with major label deals, whether they're artists and from any genre, especially if you're a DJ now, it's actually not as bad for DJs when you look at it from that sense because DJ's main thing is performing. You're not hiding behind anything. There's nothing that you guys can kind of shield yourself from. Whereas if you're an R&B artist or you're a pop artist, auto-tune can do so much, but when a live show happens, a live show happens. So is there like any thoughts that you may have on that in regards to being an independent artist versus being on a major? And if so, how do you kind of assess that kind of moving forward for guys and girls coming up?
Well, I think that it matters what you want out of your career and it matters what you're okay with. Like, if you're looking for artistic integrity in the sense of that you feel you want to do your music without anyone telling you what to do, then obviously you're going to want to go independent and try an organic grassroots approach. I mean, that's the second you start bringing in other people, there's going to be a box of what people want you to fit into. And I would say, though, there's the balance, though. If you want to be part of that machine and you want to have that exposure and stuff, there's only so many people you can. It just matters what level you want. I mean, do you want Kanye type of, like, there's a lot of people like I grew up with one of my best friends. His brother is DJ Shadow, which I would think that if you're in hip hop, you know who DJ Shadow is. You know, if you're in the turntablist culture, of course you know who he is. But if you walk up, even though maybe he's extremely successful, I mean, I'm talking about Time Magazine 50 top person of the year. But if you walk up to 99% of most people, they still don't know who he is. It's not like a household name like Kanye or Michael or, and even at that level. So it matters what you're looking for. I mean, the one thing I would say to anyone who wants to get into this is, people cannot, because that's something personal to me. Like, I knew Kanye before he was famous. I met Kanye before he was famous, and I grew up around Michael. Like, first of all, I don't think anyone truly comprehends what that level of invasion of privacy is at that level. Like, if you get to that level of stardom, I mean, it's just a different game, and you're your scheduling. I mean, one thing that I noticed, especially at that level too, I mean, that's a hard life. You're living on the road. I mean, that's traveling band. I mean, that's just, it's not a grind for everyone. In the music business, not everyone's on some Bob Marley, you know. I mean, there's some definitely, and even then with Bob Marley had exposure to things that the real world comes into it and stuff. I mean, that balance between entertainment and being a personality and then real life and what it is. I mean, because I'm sure you could acknowledge or like my dad's a musician too. There's a lot of people out there that are working musicians that do a lot of good stuff and make a good living, but people don't really know who they are. And then there's the flip side of people that are at like Lady Gaga status. And I would generally say that without a major label, you're never going to get to that.
Oh yeah.
That exposure. There's a machine there that is working, and I think a lot of that has to be tied in with your publishing and being able to get placements and being able to have these things that are exposure, and a lot of that is with press, you know. I mean, having a good publicist, having someone even out there to validate what you're doing in the sense. I mean, if anything in my career, one of the reasons I'm trying to do this press push and stuff is that it's never really, once I get stuff into people's hands, like, I mean, it's a paradox, you know. It's like generally when I get finally let people know this exists, they're taken back, and it's all love and my shows, and once someone knows what I do and getting it, but that's the challenge as an artist, is people even knowing you exist.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw this thing with Rami Malek with Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't know if you ever saw this show, Mr. Robot, that he does.
I've seen it a couple times, but I did see Bohemian Rhapsody recently. Yeah.
Okay, so like he has this show on USA that's one of the most biggest successful shows that there is. It's called Mr. Robot, and it's huge. And my point being is that the guy had a major network working on all this stuff. And I just barely just found out about him until he got this movie, this Bohemian Rhapsody movie. And that's the paradox, is that someone has this huge network behind them, is pushing this, that, it's popular, and people still don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You know, so like okay, like that's a paradox for me. I have a lot of people come up to me and they're like, hey, you know, oh, Proper, you've done this, you've made it. It's like, yo, you probably never heard of me before I introduced myself and they showed you what I was doing, stuff. You probably, so that's, you know, the paradox, I think, of being an artist is, I would say to anyone, that. So to answer your question, my advice to people is, if you believe in your talent and you believe in your product, just keep pushing forward and doing everything you can to even get exposure. But I would debate that what type of exposure and what type of legacy you want to incur to people is important and stuff, because, you know, people are going to find out what you're about, man.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I've known some people in my life that were some of the most talented musicians I've ever met in my life, but they were just bad people. And, you know, it's like, at an end of the day, you know, especially if you're from the streets and stuff and everything, I think people kind of like, at least where I'm from and stuff, we kind of like look at shit always kind of cynically and skeptically, and always kind of like, okay, like, is this an act? You know, like, you know, what's the proof in the pudding? You know, or so let's, yeah. So I mean, my advice is just believe in yourself, man. You know, I mean, I don't think it's about ego. I wouldn't tell anyone to be an egotistical person, but I would say this, is that you need to be your biggest fan, in the sense of that you gotta know what you want to put out there and do whatever you can. And now that goes back to, what is your level of what you're willing to do to get where you want to go?
Yeah.
You know, and anyone that's in the music business or the entertainment business could explain to you on many levels what that is, you know. And to me, integrity is a very important thing, man.
That's really true. It kind of reminds me of I actually heard somebody say that recently with I don't know if you've watched that movie Split before. It's this movie that James McAvoy was in and M. Night Shyamalan was in, and or that directed. And one of the things that the reason why they got set up by people in Hollywood was they say, "Hey, we like you guys, but we don't see you guys. You know, you guys don't really go to the parties. You know, you guys are work and go home people."
Right.
And then when they put them together, they felt like, okay, this was a really good match. And James McAvoy said something really interesting, and I agree with him. He says, "We don't mind going to the party. We just don't have to be the life of the party."
Yeah.
You know, and when I heard him say that, it's like he says, and that's in all forms of life. He says that for a lot of people, it's not enough just to be there. They have to be the center of attention there. And he's like, you know, I'm not chasing that. I don't need to be front and center. He says, and we got a lot of people in the music industry, or if it's or in film, where just being in the room isn't enough. They have to be the life of the room. So for you, do you feel like, hey, if you did get to be around, say, Premier or any of the guys you looked up to, whether it's Q-Tip, do you feel like, hey, I would just be comfortable just being there, or do you feel like, hey, would you need to be the center of attention with that? Because I don't really get that vibe from you from talking with you, but it seems like a lot of people, if they were in a similar position with you, they'll probably be like, no, I have to be the main focus of that. So,
Well,
like,
I mean, that's actually a really good question. Well, you know, I hope 20, 30 years from now, me and you still really know each other. I mean, I'm kind of infamous in my circle of saying anything to anyone. I don't care if it's Jay-Z. I'll look at him and be like, Sean, what are you doing? You know, like, so to me, if anything, when I'm meeting, because I'm around people like that all the time and stuff, and I've never been really one, like if I had a picture with everyone that I was ever around, I'd have, 5,000, but for me, it's not about that. No, it's about how someone treats someone. And so that's to me more about like we did a show with Mos Def, and Yasmin was just super down to earth, and he like really like look you in the eyes, and whether it was the janitor or the CEO, he gave him the same amount of respect and was always just very humble and authentic in his communication and very sincere about his art form. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. So to me, it's just like, I mean, those are legends. I mean, is there a pride in it that I want to, because I don't think there's anyone who's the best. It's like, I don't say like, oh, well, Biggie's better than Pac, that's better than Snoop. Like, nah, man, those are the legends. They're all in the conversation, like, and that's, at least for me personally, like, I just want to be in that conversation and stuff. That's where my frustration is sometimes. So to answer your thing about being out, the frustration for me is that like sometimes is that unless I'm there to see someone I know, or we're doing it, or someone's kind of whack and they're out doing it, and you see that they're out there doing their thing and you're not, that could be a frustration, I think, as an artist, because you're like, wait a minute, like, how is this guy getting caked out tonight for the show? And like, they didn't book me. Like, I would be murdering this guy's set right now. Like, so I guess there's a level of hip hop competition. That b-boy in me, I think there's a level of b-boy in me that will always be kind of like, okay, like on some KRS-One, like kind of like, okay, let's see where everyone's at, and what lets everyone put their skill onto the table and see what it is. But yeah, I mean, if I'm around those people, it just matters how they are. I mean, for me personally, as a lover of music before anything else, outside of just being an artist, it's just nothing's worse than meeting one of your favorite artists and they're just an asshole, just someone who's just rude. And I mean, I'm not going to drop names. I'm not going to throw anyone over the bus, but there's definitely been some people where I've been around where I'm just like, wow, dude, you act like a prince. You act like royalty. You don't act like a philanthropist. You don't act like a pure person of the people. You don't seem like you truly care about your fans. And then the dynamic I've gotten with sometimes when people come and be like, oh, well, that's my cousin, that's my nephew. Oh, if I introduced you, we would be great. And I'm like, that's not how I would want people to remember me, that like you have to co-sign on me to get to get a good vibe. Like, yo, I don't care if it's a bum on the street. That bum could have been a Nobel Prize winner that is down on his luck, or hurting, or someone that's hurt. To me, I do it on a case by case scenario. It's just like interviews. I've sat down for some interviews where the energy is beautiful like this, and it's just good, and it's mutual respect, and it's love. And then sometimes, you get an interview, some people are just trying to clown you, or, trying to stir the pot, just trying to troll you in one way or another. Or so, I do it on a case by case scenario. It's like, and nothing's better, I think, seeing someone that you look up to, and that's with anyone, anyone. It's because to me, it's not about someone being a star, because there's a lot of people out there that are just great people that should be revered to me as stars. The people, the scientists, the educators, the people that maybe aren't in the spotlight, but really, truly, the engineers, the people that cultivate a society, which I think is really going to be important, because it ain't going to be some politician or some, even me, okay, maybe I'm a DJ and maybe I could change. And like, I definitely feel that, like, I have something called Worldwide Familia, and the theme of it is this music's for all races worldwide, working for peace and equality. So everything that I do is, I have a thing called the Civil Rights Forum, the Social Justice Association, things that I started, nonprofits to try and bring light to human rights, civil rights issues, and things that I see that, especially as like a white guy, like there's just so many things that I think that a lot of other white people won't say, that I want to, like, I did a tweet the other day, and it was kind of like, I see all these young kids doing all this Nazi shit, and like one like white guy, to see all these young white people doing this, it's embarrassing, it's disgusting, it's like literally, like, especially being an American, I'm like, there's people that fought against fascism and racism and died fighting these communists and fascists and stuff, and like gave you even the right to be in America, to speak your mind. Because if you were in some fascist country and they didn't like what you're saying, they swoop, even here. I'm not saying that America's perfect or in any sense. America's got its issues, but to me, I think the real stars are the people that just help people and live their life out of trying to contribute, to try and just be there for people, be a good friend, be good to old, there's just so much things that get lost in society, and the society could be so bleak and stuff. And if we could find, especially us as America, as a culture, I think if we could get to a place where we start honoring more the teachers, honoring the people that maybe the scientists that hopefully could find solutions to a lot of these issues that are coming, because they're coming and they're going to have to be dealt with. And that's the only been advancement of society throughout historically. If you look at the last 10,000 years of recorded history, it's the people that try and find the scientific solution or the engineering solution, or even people like Martin Luther King, people who at the time, he was a criminal, at the time he was getting arrested, he was getting persecuted. Even Colin Kaepernick right now with what he did. I know so many people look down at what he's doing, but it's a very important issue right now. And especially, like, for me, it's like, wait a minute, I don't think anyone that's ever kneeling or talking about these things is in any sense disrespectful towards police or disrespectful towards, the military. What they're saying is that there's this systematic and epidemic issue here in America of people of color being murdered with no consequence, and that's wrong, and there needs to be an acknowledgement in society of that this is happening, and that people deserve justice, and that everyone, no matter your color, no matter your race, no matter your religion, no matter your economic status, because a lot of people would debate that here in America, that generally your economic status has your criminal defense is your best bet. I come from a lot of lawyers and judges.
Yeah, hey, there's really no to your point, man. There's really no form of ism that is as strong as classism. And and you'll find out in certain cases if you have the proper financial backing, it shapes the way our government looks at you. It shapes, if you look at Meek Mill, when you had the governor and the DA that thought what was happening against him was, an injustice, and it was. If you look at it, they're looking at him like, hey, he's a multimillionaire. He's, financing stuff in our city and our community. It's a hindrance to us to, have him in jail. That does not help our city. Now, he ended up shining a light on a much bigger problem between parole violations and how we handle probations, and that's what's led to some of the things we see now. But I think you're seeing it going on with 21 Savage now. It's like like, hey, do we really want to get rid of a guy who's a multimillionaire that's helping to finance and benefit people in a major city in America? Does that really help us? And now you got people that were on one side of the fence that normally would think one way, and they're like, well, wait a minute, let's revise this. And that's where the gray area of life always comes in, because life always forces you to have to face the principles that you're behind on either side of the fence. And so, man, that was a really profound thing that you said there, man. On a really great answer, man. I don't even know how I can really how I would tie that up. I can't.
Hey, man, all respect, man, and all love, man. I mean, that's definitely very important to me. Is that I think that's one of the reasons why Bob Marley was who he was. Is that really ultimately, when you go down to it, it was authentic and it emulated a love. It's like, this has been a conversation I've been having with a lot of people, is that, like, I have a lot of friends that are international. I have friends and loved ones in Iran that these are good people, these are good people, it's not, and I've talked about this on a couple of different, it's like, and I don't want to keep like repeating myself, but it's just, hey, just to demonize these people, like demonize the Russian people, like, no, they're scared of Putin. To demonize the Iranian people, like, no, that's horrible, dude. Like, I look at documentaries, talk to people that are there. I mean, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have many ways to connect to these people. Once you've talked to 100 people in this area, that you see that, that's why with my music I try and express. It's just like, hey, no matter your race, no matter your place, we're all God's children. It's like, my son could be darker than you, or someone else's could be lighter. I have friends that are dark that have really light kids that you would never tell they had, a dark parent, or vice versa, or whatever and stuff. And really, at the end of the day, my blood would save your blood, would save blood. And that really, at the end of the day, wherever these people are, there's people all over the world. They just good people trying to survive, trying to make a life, trying to figure it out. And it's scary for some of them, because it's like, I was just talking to my friend in Iran the other day. They're saying that it's popping off so bad there that, like, their dollar, like, now it's like 1/18. So, like, whatever you used to spend $1 on there, now you have to spend $18 on. Like, that's how much inflation is going on there right now. And all of them are not like, when I talk to them, they aren't like, oh, screw America, I want to blow. Like, they're like, no, I want to come to America. I want to come to New York. I want to see the Big Apple. These are people that want to study and become scientists and everything across the board and just contribute to society in a positive way. And I think that's what you find once you get to experience the people, whether it's racial, sexual, whatever and stuff, that people are people, and there's good and bad people of every background. And just to demonize, like, oh, well, they're all like that. Well, nah, that ain't even close to true. And if you do your research and your due diligence, that's so far from the case. There's so much more that joins us together than separates us. And I'm not saying that we all should embrace our heritage and be proud of where we come from, and was saying, but I think if you look at it on like a scientific level, we did all emulate from, whether it was Pangea, a supercontinent, a darker skinned mother, a genetic, what they call it, genetic Eve. We all descended from a darker skinned individual. So really, we're all related to one form, or we're all the human tribe. And I always say that we're in the race, the human race. And that doesn't take away from like the issues of what's going on here with America, with people of color and what's going on, and that, hey, it's all the same. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, there's obvious, very important issues of persecution, but, you know, KRS-One just did a thing here, and he just wrote a book. And I don't know if you know that KRS-One just came out with a book, and it's basically about, since the beginning of time, it's really been kind of like person against person, not necessarily skin color against skin color, that if you look at it, you know, whether it's China against Japan, whether it's one Indian tribe against another Indian tribe, Pakistan against that people historically fight with each other. And when we really look at that, you should judge each person on a person by person status and not just be like, you know, KRS-One, when he did his interview here the other day, he very much came out and he's like, hey, I'm not going to say screw all white people, or I'm not going to say screw all black people. There's good and bad black people. There's good and bad, you know, just like with hip hop. As someone who's seen a lot of stages of hip hop, just to say like, oh, well, 90s hip hop is dope. Nah, no, there was a lot of bad 90s hip hop too, you know, or now.
Yeah.
Hey, I get into this with people every day. They're like, oh, well, that ain't hip hop. Well, I'm like, yo, dude, I don't know. I went to his show last night, and at the end of the day, there are a lot of people that are endeared to Lil Pump's music. Now, if I look at it as someone who did grow up with Gang Starr or Talib Kweli, these lyrical people who would just run. That being said, he's going out, he's doing it. There's people endeared to it. You can't take away from what the people are doing, and that there are people that it's important and special to them. And do I like some of it? Like, nah, I'm like, but in every genre, there's always been music I liked and I didn't like, you know? So I just always try to say I'm not a hater, dude. Like, let people do what you do and worry about what you got to worry about with your own stuff. Because especially with some of them, I look at people and be like, yeah, you're talking crap about them, but look at it. They at least they made it. They're doing it. They're out there. Even if in their eyes, your eyes failing, they're doing it.
That's true. That's true. I mean, hey, you know, between that, Lil Yachty, you know, it's a lot of these young rappers who I may not follow, you know, necessarily, but I don't knock their hustle or their grind. I mean, hey, people can say a lot about Soulja Boy. I mean, he really changed the business of hip hop. I mean,
Yeah.
I know people bring up Chance the Rapper because they like him, but hey, Soulja Boy, you know, with Crank That is incredible for him to do it, you know, at the time period that he was doing it in that 07, 06 era. It was just, that was, you know, I don't think people get how big that was.
Yeah, and he made a lot with those ringtones, and he's still out there doing it. He's obviously still living in Malibu, figuring it out. And as we all grow up adults, we find out how hard it is to truly figure it out. And especially if your parents came from nothing or something, to get that perspective as a man or a woman that is truly an adult, that doesn't have excuses, doesn't have to be like, hey, well, now we could all debate sometimes maybe all money isn't good money, and that what some people have done to get to these points, maybe that ain't worth it for some. I mean, for some people it is worth it, and some people it's not. I mean, I would say to each person, that's something about that you have to figure out personally. You know, it's like, is Soulja Boy a caricature in some people's minds, and then other people he's a valid artist. And you know, I mean, there's a lot of new great artists. I mean, A$AP Rocky, you can't take away from what the kid's doing, man. The guy is hungry. And Drake, I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and I'm not saying I like everything that these guys do or their crews do. Like, no, there's a lot of it where I listen to it and I'm just like, I don't get it, you know? Like, it's a lot of things I don't get, but hey, you know, that's the beautiful thing about music. I say that to my students all the time. It doesn't matter if I like what you do. It's about if you like what you do, and then you finding your audience, because even if I look at it and go, oh, that don't sound right. Like like I met my boys working with Famous Dex a lot. He came and played me his stuff before anyone knew who the guy was. I was like, nah, man, you know, like I ain't feeling that. I'm like, yo, he's in a box. he's out there doing it. He's gigging at everything. I see him getting booked for everything, and he's figured it out. So like, my point being, there's obviously millions of people out there that appreciate it, like his stuff, whether I do or not, and I'm not against, as a DJ, that maybe he one day will do something you want, or if I haven't listened through his whole catalog, maybe I'll find something that I do like. I'm just saying that right off the gate, and how about this? Sometimes things grow on people and stuff. I mean, just because you listen to something at first doesn't mean after a few times and stuff, how you listen to it and stuff. I mean, there's been a lot of albums through the years where I like heard it at first, I was like, then you hear it a couple times. Now, some people would say that that's a programming thing, that people are just programming you with the, like, oh, you're getting exposed to it so much that it just becomes familiar. But
yeah,
I think that sometimes people, there's so much entertainment stuff. People are so inundated these days too with stuff, with content. And people have their things that they're used to and familiar with. Like, who's some of your favorite artists throughout the years and stuff? Like who do you generally listen to as, for like who would you say like your hip hop all stars and stuff?
Oh, well, currently I'll probably say J. Cole, Kendrick, Drake to me is kind of in his own category because he's an all around artist that your grandmother's heard multiple songs from him on a radio station she would like. Like, he makes that kind of music. So to me, I kind of put Drake in a separate category. I think Big Sean's really underrated lyrically. I think he's probably the most charismatic rapper who's skilled that we have. When you listen to Big Sean rap, I know Future to me is he's an entertaining rapper.
Right.
Yeah, and I enjoy his stuff is good for what it is, but you'll never put him in the class of like, hey, he's one of the best MCs that we have going. But to your point, I mean, I do think that we've always had eras where music has been sometimes good and sometimes bad, and sometimes people just think they're so precious about the era that they came up on, they hold on to that. But hey, at 16 from Jay, it'll still always surprise. It still reminds you, it's like, oh yeah, that's Jay-Z. It's like, even with all this stuff, like every now and again he'll drop, a verse on a song where it's like, okay, Jay's still Jay. And I think that's kind of good too, to see that you got guys in their 40s now, because hip hop is getting older, that are still sticking with it. So those are just some of the people that I had, off the top of my head now. I mean, but I got XM, so I'm able to listen to more different types of radio. To your point, it gets to programming at some point either way you go. So whether you listen to a regular radio station or you listen to satellite radio, at some point you did get programmed with certain songs by certain artists. Travis Scott to me is another one of those, like, he's entertaining. I don't necessarily look at him as like a lyrical genius or anything like that, but his music is entertaining. Travis Scott does do that, but
great live show, man. The guy that does a great live show.
He's
I'll give him that. Like, the guy definitely captivates his crowd and the reactions that he gets. Because, like, I listened to his album, my boy, when he first came out. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't really hear nothing on this. I'm really feeling. And then, because he like, my friend was looking at me. He's like, you're trying to like this, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, though. But then, I mean, but there you go. Like, that song he did with Drake, the visuals on that music video were insane. The editing and the videography and the cinematography on that stuff was just, it was a really good music video. And I think that's one of my advice to artists these days too, is that it isn't about spending, $1 million on your music video. It's just storyboarding an idea and working with what you got, and everyone's at a different level. But if you could find visuals for what you like, I think even like with this interview, like we originally were going to do this just over audio. I think having the video aspect of it makes a difference, and how the quality comes out and stuff, it translates a whole lot differently, because you're right, hip hop is growing up in a lot of ways, but I'm all about the youth, and I'm all about the new thing, and to me, these kids are on that YouTube generation. They communicate through YouTube. That every bit of content, if it doesn't have a YouTube channel, if it doesn't have some type of video, they ain't gonna listen to the audio generally or something. And not unless you have a visual that just adds the audio, but that's how people really see stuff. They go to YouTube and they check out what's your catalog of stuff. They go to Google, see what happens when they Google you, and they go to YouTube and see what comes up as videos. I mean, that's just the industry standard of where we're at. And what I would say to people too is, you put it out there, you're now being compared to everyone else too, is that this medium has people with a lot of money putting their content out. So that's where you got to utilize the resources you got.
Hey man, that to me that's a good way to kind of wrap it up right there, man. Hey man, I want to thank you so much, man, for agreeing to do this, man. I'm so happy to get a chance to talk to you.
No doubt, man.
If you can, if you have anything else that you kind of want to plug or anything upcoming you want to mention, and if anything, man, I gotta come see your shows. One of your shows, man.
Bro, we definitely got to link up in person. Where are you located?
Oh, I'm based in Inglewood.
I just moved out of Inglewood, so I live in South Central. So yeah, that's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to live up right up on Imperial Highway. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm definitely, we're in the same neighborhood. I'm right up next to SC. I go to the music school here at night, to the music school Thornton, and work here during the day, and then just gig at night and do shows over the weekends. As far as projects, I mean, anyone that wants to hit me up, I kind of keep like the thing like kind of like Chance the Rapper. I just give my music away. I just give my discography away to people and stuff. I'm a big believer in that. We're us as artists, we're going to be, I mean, should you have your stuff up on iTunes and all? Yeah, for sure. Have it on all the streaming stuff, have it up there, have that access. But for me, if anyone wants a copy of my album, anyone wants a copy of my discography, just hit me up on IG, shoot me a message. I'll send you a free download link. I'll let you check out everything, the projects I've been working with. I've been working with one of my oldest best friends, Soul Power, amazing producer, amazing MC. The project you were talking about, Eyes On, he's from South Africa, so he's a South African MC that's out here. And then just I have the From My Soul, the band in the USA trilogy, From My Soul 1, 2, and 3, that is just kind of my mixtape project. And I was fortunate enough and blessed to have like Raka from Dilated Peoples really helped me with that, do drops, always co-sign on it. Charlie Tuna from Jurassic 5, Razkaz, Living Legend, Sunspot Jones, and then my boy MD's for Talib Kweli. I did some remixes of that, some of his stuff, and just the whole family and the network and stuff. And just kind of, I got this thing called Equality Radio, and anyone just, wants to link up, collaborate, just holler at me. I'm easy to find. I always tell people, hey, I'm on every social media. I'm easy to get a hold of. And I'm also a big believer of that no matter how big you are, you should take the time to support the people that support you. I don't care what level we're at or how big people are. To me, people, it's all about the relationship, and I'm all about long-term relationships. So generally everyone that I mess with, even if it's generally very long-term relationships, especially in music and stuff. I've seen a lot of people that turn around and make it. And to me, I always love new content. I'm always looking for that new song to remix. I'm always looking for that sample. I was joking with my friend last night. I was like, everything's a sample to me, whether it's a movie, TV, walking around, hearing something, a voice, a quote, a joke, someone saying something. Like, I'm always listening for things to sample, things to incorporate into my music, and people to build with. And I just want to say it again. I'm just humbled and appreciative, and just thank you so much for taking the time to even listen to me and give me a medium here to have this conversation. And I'm definitely down as things keep building and we keep new thing, let's keep grinding, man, and keep building.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Hey, and I thank you again for your time, man. And this has been a really cool, unique way to kind of explore this medium for people to kind of have multiple ways to view it. So I thank you for that too, man. I want to thank Lee for also kind of putting this together. So I'm really grateful to him. But yeah, man. So definitely, man. If I know D's gonna be plugging your Instagram handle. Did you have any other social media handles you wanted to kind of like shout out beforehand, or you good?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook is this / hip hop DJ, but everything for me is this DJ proper. If you, put it out there on any of the social medias, I'm easy to find, and
Okay.
definitely, yeah, man. I just can't, like I said, this was really great, man. I really appreciate it.
Good man, good man. Well, man, hey, thanks again, man. And hey, man, I know you're DJing on the weekends, man. I gotta come to one of your shows, man.
Oh, bro, we're definitely gonna go to a show, and we're gonna link in person outside of a show because that's one thing I always joke with people. It's like, hey, we're at hours, but let's link face to face outside of this, and let's just like I said, I'll get you copies of all this content, whatever you want to do with it. I'll get you all the video content, audio, and hopefully it helps you guys build too and stuff, and hopefully it's quality and just things that we could just figure it out and keep on grinding and building. Nas used to always say to my friend, build bridges. Always build that bridge. Always don't be a person that builds walls. Build bridges because and have your side of the bridge. So you always have your side, like. And then if someone wants to sit there and meet with you and stuff, then it's a beautiful thing because if we could connect, and that's the one thing I love about hip hop. It's all about community. It's all about the roots of this and stuff, and just us all supporting each other and just getting our messages out there and helping build together, bro.
Hey, man. Hey, thank you, man. Sounds good, man. Hey, you used one of the greatest MCs to end it, man, with Nas, man. So, man, we'll definitely chop it up just aside from everything real soon, man. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me, man. I want to thank our audience on the Stay Woke podcast. Thank you for my show. Could you be more specific? Looking forward to putting out more content. Looking forward to chopping up with you again real soon. And I hope you have a good one, man. Thanks again for your time.
Of course, man. Stay woke. Stay up.
Right,
stay. God bless, man, guys.
All right, man.
Hey, guys.
Thank you for the time again, man.
Hey, LeVar. Much love, man. For sure, man.
No problem. And I'm definitely staying in contact. And like you said, we're the same way. We have a long-term relationship, regardless how big or how small. Once we develop a relationship, we try to maintain it. So that's how we are. So.
Hey, man, we'll cut it up. I'll get you all this guy's stuff and just
Yeah, definitely.
keep me updated on where it's being, where it's posted, what's going on, and I'll definitely promote it too, guys. All right.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, guys. Stay woke podcast. Big up, DJ Proper. Hey, peace, love, and happiness, everyone worldwide. All right, sure.